Alrighty, this will be my first VOD review, and I'm just gonna pick a game where we've got 5 players. I know it's not our full 5 squad. We don't have Steven in the top lane, but we've got Corey in here, so we've got 5 players. We did a bit of a draft. We sort of played around one of our draft win conditions that we'd set earlier. So why don't we, before we get started, just talk about how the draft went and sort of talk about the matchups here. So what we ended up doing was we sort of banned out sort of our discomfort picks, some of the champions that that we're not super big fans of, and from there we sort of just went with our game plan. Our game plan was to draft bot first and establish a strong early game through our bot lane, and thus you see the Clissonalis. Those were our first 2 picks. From there we round out our composition with a little bit of scaling, and that's sort of where the Victor and the set come in. The Victor especially is going to be our late game insurance, and the Lee Sin is there as sort of to bridge the gap. He's great in the early game, great in the mid game, and then he sort of falls off a little bit. So his ultimate game plan here is to see if he can get set, if he can get specifically the Victor ahead, while bot lane creates its own advantages and absorbs pressure from the jungler. So the way the draft went, I think that we get a pretty solid matchup in the bot lane. Clissonalis has a lot of synergy here and has a lot of kill potential on an Ashe Alistar lane, with Alistar having very low damage. Ashe essentially, once she gets crowd controlled, won't have a ton of ability to turn that lane. So in a 2v2, I think if the Nautilus plays it right and makes sure to go onto the Ashe and I don't get engaged upon, me being Callista in this game, then I think we have a good chance of winning 2v2. Trundle coming in, I think if we bring in Lee Sin versus that Trundle, I think we win that 3v3 as well. So if we keep an eye on the jungler and we have sort of vision set up, where our idea here is that our bot lane should be able to win those skirmishes, and that can transition into a late game. Sort of scaling wise, they do have Vel'Koz. Vel'Koz is a massive late game scaler with the true damage, really high AP ratios. Ashe is always useful at every stage of the game, with her ultimate, but I think ultimately she's probably, if she builds crit, is going to do a little bit more damage than Callista later into the game, and a little less damage early into the game until she gets a couple items under her belt. And I would say Darius is definitely, he can get ahead and get really out of control, but I feel like as a team fighter, he's going to scale probably worse than the set, and as a split pusher, he'll probably scale better. And I do think that Trundle definitely has, with the ultimate coming in handy at all times, maybe an easier avenue to team fight than the Lee Sin. The Lee Sin definitely has its work cut out for it, especially in the late game. You can get those flash kicks off and those sort of deep dives, but it's really hard to play a team fight. We don't have a ton of hard engage beyond the Nautilus. The set has engage, but it's definitely going to be more follow-up engage and peel. So Nautilus is sort of our main engager. They've got Alistar, they've got Trundle, they've got Ashe. So they have higher engage, and that's sort of one of the things that we're probably going to see later into this game as we sort of get past the mid game in the team fight phase. Is their hard engage makes it a little more consistent for them to pick a fight when they want it, and for us, we're sort of limited to being able to maneuver the support to engage, potentially Callista with the support to engage, and some follow-up from the set and the Lee Sin. So let's just get into it, and we're going to sort of skip around the video here and see anything that we see. So obviously not ideal to have Lee Sin in base here. We could easily get caught out if they do some sort of early transition, but it looks like we're lucky they just decide to guard. Same thing as we're doing, we're guarding. We probably want somebody right here in this bush. I think that, or at least standing right here or right here. We could have easily gotten invaded on here if we didn't know. Nautilus is guarding up down the bottom there, and we bring set over. Not really sure what the set is doing here. Potentially we're expecting to have all 5. And Callista uses her spear now, so a little bit weird here, especially if we got attacked, but at least we're all 5 grouped together. And 105, set should definitely leave at this point, so okay, we've got set going, or it looks like we're going to leash bot side red here. And they're guarding pretty heavily, and it looks like they're going to leash bot side for Trundle as well. So around that 3-minute mark, you might expect 2 ganks to happen on the top side. Depending on who's pushing, Lee Sin or Trundle, that might be our first bit of action, kind of around 250, 3 minutes. Maybe 250 for Lee Sin, maybe 3 minutes for Trundle. So just going to keep an eye on everybody, see how they're going here. Maybe the mid lane's got the most action. done so far. Alright, a bit of trading going on in the top lane. Sort of farming it out in the mid. There's a fight going on down here. Looks like Kalissa's getting zoned out by the Ashe. Let's watch that one back. Let's kind of see what was happening there. So we've got an even lane state. Nautilus misses the hook here. Both should back off. Instead, so we'll pause right there. So right here when Nautilus hooks... Actually, I didn't go back far enough. Okay, so we've got a mostly even game state at this point. Nautilus is looking for a pick right here. Nautilus hooks and misses the Ashe. So at this point, both, since there's no commitment here, you see the Nautilus hook doesn't connect with the terrain, so it doesn't actually drag him forward. That would have been a little bit rough here. Both these players should be backing off. Nautilus has his main ability cooldown down, and it is Alistar level 1, but they do have Ashe, and Ashe has that slow. The slow can sort of set up the Alistar combos, and I think that's indeed what happened here. I think Kalista gets hit. Not even. Kalista just walks up into the Alistar. Alistar gets a double knock up. This is huge. Their level 1 is so good right here, and it's kind of a misplay from the bot lane. Ashe is going to start autoing down the Kalista with the slow. Right here, Nautilus looks like he's going to go for Alistar, realizes the Ashe is on AD carry, switches targets here, gets the root off, which is nice. I'm going to take this volley here, but I mostly survive. Ashe flashes, I heal. So a decent trade on summoners there, but all off of a misplay from us. Not so great here. So we're both super low. That's going to definitely not help later into this lane here. Mid lane, trading really simply. Just mostly farming. Looks like there was a bit of skirmish top lane. We can kind of check that out and see what happened. We have a level advantage on Darius, so that might have been what happened here. So Set's going in for the trade. Darius gets the heal here. Alright. So Set essentially wants to continue and get his Conqueror going. So he notices that he can continue to bully Darius, but Darius, because of the length of the trade, gets that bleed off. And Set's going to bleed down pretty hard here. And essentially that's the end of the trade, it looks like. Darius is going to get level 2 here. So maybe just a little bit of extra commitment from the Set. It looked like he was doing okay in the trade, and then the Darius bleed is going to take the extra HP there. So that puts Set just a little bit behind in experience, and it's going to shove him under tower, but he should be fine here. So Trundle just did blue into wolves into red. So Trundle... is not yet level 3, and is currently looking for a lane to gank. There's really no availability to gank mid, no availability to gank top, so Trundle's probably just going to farm this out. This would be a great opportunity for Lee. Lee just killed blue right here. He could get that third camp right here. Looks like he did the same pathing, red into wolves into blue. He's going to get this Gromp, and hopefully he can circle around and gank this Darius. It would be a little tricky if he went now. Level 2, Darius might hit 3 here, so he might be a level behind, but it's definitely doable. Although I think this wave, because of the cannon is going to stay for a little while, so I think Lee does actually have the time here to take this camp to get that level 3. And that's going to be a little important for the dive. Looks like bot popped all their potions, so from there, yeah, Kalista potions and both Nautilus potions, so that's going to help bot lane sustain back up. But essentially they've lost that early trade, so they've lost their ability to really fight in the early game here. So let's see what happens next. We have Lee farming up Gromp. It looks like he's going to go for that Darius. So he walks up to the wall. He walks around. Trundle is very interestingly pathing top. I think maybe he thinks there's going to be a gank because of his lane arrow extending. There's really no chance of him ganking the Set. So he does find the Lee, and he's skirmishing with the Lee here. And Lee uses his Warhap away, so that was fine. Trundle did a great job here. So Trundle essentially countered the Lee Sin's gank, recognized that Lee Sin was getting off his level 3 camp timer, and Set was pushed in, so Darius was vulnerable, and Trundle cleared that out. He put down a ward, and he chased off the Lee Sin, seeing that he burned his W, and he chunked him to half. He can now sort of leave and do whatever he wants, and looks like he's going to get the Scuttles here, so he has Scuttle Prio, his lanes are pushing. This is a great play from Trundle. Lee Sin's in a bit of a tough spot. He could try and lane gank here. Maybe he could just decide to power farm these bot camps, but he can't contest the Scuttle, and it's going to be tough for him to go top. So let's sort of see what the Lee does next here. So he's chased off. He decides he's going to go for top again. It looks like he's going to go for the lane gank. And Set actually gets first blooded there. Okay, let's go back and see what happened. I actually didn't watch that. So Trundle's chased off. Set decides to fight inside the minion wave. Burns his combo. He's got his Okay, so he hits him with the full charge Haymaker, but he's still unable to duel the Darius. It's close. It's really close, though. It looks like it was within just a sliver of HP. Let's see what it comes down to. It's tough. I think if he wasn't fighting in the minion wave, he would have been fine. He played that pretty good, getting his Haymaker all the way down and using the shield to counteract some of Darius's damage. So yeah, Darius is, at this point, 63 health. So a bit unlucky for this set, but I mean, this was a really risky fight. I mean, he's sitting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minions that are all hitting him at the same time, and he's got the Lee coming already. So if he just waited another 3 seconds, that would have been no death. So let's see if Lee can clean this up after the kill. It might be a flash from Lee Sin. Flash Q hits it. Okay, there we go. So that's good. A bit of a skirmish bot lane. We're gonna zoom back and kind of see what's going on down there. Mid's trading pretty hard. Looks like bot is healthy again. They're looking for a play. They've got a level lead, actually. So that's a hit onto Alistar, and then hook still up, hook onto Ashe. So we're able to get some damage down, although there's an exhaust coming down the Kalista. They're both super low. There might be sort of a re-engage here. Okay, level 3 is on the Ashe and the Alistar, so they're going to be harder to hit. Probably take a Nautilus hook onto Ashe and some sort of fancy play here. So Alistar actually flashes in here. There's not really anybody in range, so a bit of an interesting flash. Maybe he's trying to hit the Kalista right here. Is the Kalista? I'm not really sure, actually. He flashes, but there's nobody in range. I wonder if he was trying to do a flash WQ and he missed it, or he thought that his Q was a little bit larger and it was actually going to knock up the Kalista. Either way, a bit of misplay from the Alistar. He burns his summoner and his cooldown, so he might get punished here. So that's the root from the Nautilus. Kalista stacking the spears. Dodges the Ashe W, actually, and gets the execute. And gets a kill on that Ashe. So big misplay by the Alistar. Really just a capitalization by the Nautilus and the Kalista. So not so bad overall. Bot lane's kind of fulfilling its win condition. Not through, I would say, their own methods, because they did lose that level 1 trade really hard, having to burn their sums. And really the only reason that happened in that regard was because Alistar misplayed that so bad, missing his flash and his knockup. So there was definitely an ability, because you saw how low Kalista got in that fight. Let me see if I can go back a little bit. So at some point during that fight, Kalista was already down to 160 health, and even lower after taking one of these Ashe arrows, 132 health. Definitely an Alistar Q and an auto attack would have made a big difference in that fight. Just the CC alone would have given Ashe a chance to do damage, much less the actual damage of the abilities. So I would say misplay by their lane, more so than an outplay by the Kalista Nautilus lane. Interesting Haymaker backwards. That might have been a mistake. A lot of trading back and forth going between these two. I would say it's just based on the bleed, it's Darius favored, but I mean, Set is a pretty good brawler. They both got Conqueror, so the longer the trades go, there's more healing in both directions. I think Set has more attack speed, just based with his auto attack reset with his Q, gives him a lot of attack, so he might get more Conqueror healing. The long trades might be okay for him. So I don't necessarily hate this, and I think, let's see if Set has a refillable. He does a refillable, so he has a little more sustain than Darius just based on that, and looks like he's going to trade on him super aggressively. That might force Darius out of lane there. Mid-game state, basically even farm. Both of them are pretty much doing nothing. I mean, you expect this from two immobile mage carries, although Vel'Koz is pushed here, so he's got a ward. It's tough. Both of them are sitting pretty far back, and there's really no avenue here. So they're both scaling, sort of trying to fulfill their late game conditions. Bot lane returned after backing. Lee Sin is just sort of scoping at the area. I think he started Scuttle, and then upon seeing that people were rotating, he's probably going to W over the Dragon Wall. So we'll get the Lee Sin out there. So that's probably going to push out his wave and back. Same thing with Victor's still got enough mana. He could definitely stay for a bit longer. He needs to get that Hex Core. So it looks like there's a collapse happening. So Lee's in position, looking for the Scuttle, knows that there's 3 collapsing. Mid has, potentially can have Prio. Definitely like low mana on both sides. So we'll see who rotates first out of there. And the Kalista Nautilus is coming. This 3v3 that we talked about, just based on the champions alone, Trundle, Ashe, Alistar, and the Kalista Nautilus Lee Sin, that wins 3v3 for the Kalista Nautilus Lee. Now on top of that, Kalista has gold from being able to kill the Ashe, and then Nautilus having gold. So this should be an easy win 3v3, considering the mid stays out of it. So we'll see how this one pans out. Lee's kiting just for a little bit. He's actually going to jump out over the Dragon Wall. Okay, so we've got a bit of a collapse here. This is great from the Victor. He manages to establish not really much prio, but he gets the inside track. Even though there's a ward here, Vel'Koz is still behind it. Essentially, Vel'Koz is playing so passive, he's afraid to come in. So Victor is going to come in here for the collapse. So we potentially have some stuff going on. Although it looks like Victor is getting pincered here. So we'll see how this fight breaks out. It looks like Lee, after dropping over the Dragon Wall, is going to go with the Nautilus on the Ashe. Callista's on the Alistar, and 2v on the Victor. So this is actually really bad for Victor, and really good for this side over here. So we're sacrificing Victor's gold and Victor's life to get bot lane ahead. Not necessarily ideal. The whole condition was bot lane should be able to create its own leads while mid lane scales. This is going to hurt the mid lane scaling, but sort of benefit the bot lane snowballing. We'll see if that pays out in the end here. So they get the kill on Ashe. Callista is actually running to help the Victor. So Callista is abandoning this Alistar kill, thinking the Ashe is going to die on her own, and she's going to see if she can get some work done here. It's a little risky because you're essentially hoping that Victor survives long enough that you can contribute, but if Victor dies really quick right here, it becomes a 2v1 against the Callista with team really far behind. This is really bad for Callista. So a bit of a weird positioning here because Victor came in to assist on the pinch and ends up having to go below the dragon. The Lee and the Nautilus are pretty far away from the fight. They sort of broke away from the pincer and re-engaged from the side. So unfortunate for the Victor. Victor sort of wanted that pincer and didn't get it. And we'll kind of see how this plays out here. I think Victor is going to die here. He's just getting chased down by the Trundle. The spear is getting stacked into the Vel'Koz. It's a flash from Callista. Big miss from the Vel'Koz on the knockup. Spear is getting stacked. Ashe should be dead here. Ashe is dead. More spears means potentially a dead Trundle as well. That's dead Alistar. Dead Trundle. We'll see. Yeah, Lee Sin's going to get the Ashe right here. And that's a dead Ashe. So it really works out. It ends up being a 1 for 3. Victor dies, and Trundle, Ashe, Alistar die. So totally worth it. We're a bit of an unorthodox fight, and unfortunate for the Victor, although he has his wave pushing. So Vel'Koz is going to lose some CS here. So the wave position was actually good for him. He managed to get his Hex Core ability upgrade. So this is totally fine for Victor. He got what he needed. He sacrificed some for the team, but so did Vel'Koz. And Vel'Koz essentially is the worst out of this. You know, down a little bit in CS, and Victor hit that itemization that it really takes for Victor to start to snowball. So during all of that, I think there's a bit of a trade happening top. We can kind of rewind and see. So no TPs on both top laners. They both use them. A lot of skirmishing. So that's going to fight this Darius here. Conqueror is procced. Bren's ulti. Sells Haymaker. Does not have Haymaker. Used it early, I think. Let me see. So actually uses the Haymaker to try and AoE the wave. Because of that, Darius all ins. And Set right here should be trying to get out, but maybe saw that there was no avenue out. Ulted, knows he's dead. And there he goes. So unfortunate for the Set. He probably shouldn't have W'd. It would have been really hard to clear. There's a whole bunch of minions here. I don't know if he'd be able to clear that with his W no matter what. So that was sort of a use of his strongest cooldown fighting ability. So a bit unfortunate. And he just TP'd too. So I would say Set is firmly behind. 20 CS difference, 2 kill difference, no TP, 20 minions crashing on your turret. So this is kind of a disaster for top lane. So far, this looks like the biggest challenge right now for the blue team. Okay. So we've got some vision here. We knew that Trundle died. Actually, there's a ward here spotting him. So Trundle is spotted out. So bot lane is probably safe to push up. There's really no risk. Level 6 on Callista versus these 4s. There's really no risk. Callista can ult out the Nautilus if she needs. So this is not a super risky play right here. Just getting some harass, mostly turret plates, and essentially denying Ashe some CS. She's back a little bit there. And looks like Callista's gonna itemize into Bork and maybe stone plate from the Nautilus. So this bot lane is going rather accordingly. Alright, we'll sort of skip ahead a little bit. Got a bit of nothing going on. Bot's gonna reset, mid's gonna shove. So mid here, very even CS. This is a very even lane right now. They both have basically identical gold. Got some warding going on here. 2 wards placed here, so that's nice. He's definitely trying to not get ganked. He thinks he's going to be pushing and ganking. So, although Trundle does go around the outside way, I think the Victor spotted the Trundle. Let's see if I can enable the Fog of War. So if I go back a little bit here. So right here, Victor believes that Trundle's around. Let's see if he saw him earlier. I'm not sure why he thinks Trundle's around. So yeah, Victor saw the Trundle on his ward, right? So he knows that Trundle's going to be coming through here. He pings Trundle's location twice, 3 times. So he knows that Trundle's around. For some reason, he papped towards him. Maybe he thought he can just kill the Trundle because he's 2 levels above. So let's see if he goes for the Trundle. So he thinks about going for the Trundle. And then he sees the Vel'Koz rotate. And at this point, he realizes now he's in a 2v1 situation. Before, he thought he was in a 1v1 because Vel'Koz was right here and Trundle's right here. So I think if he really wanted to go for Trundle, he needed to commit much, much earlier. And at the point where he's at now, he's realizing with no flash and no defensive summoners and Vel'Koz coming in that he's in a 2v1. His jungler is nowhere to be seen. He's, I mean, obviously on the other side of the map. Not the jungler's fault, but essentially the Victor here thinks he can solo the Trundle. Decides against it, but decides against it way too late after already pathing through this channel. So we'll see if he gets punished for that. He decides to land his stun on Vel'Koz, gets pillared, gets knocked up, gets Vel'Koz ultied, and he's dead. So really unfortunate for the Victor. I think if he had his jungler around, they would have won 2v2. I think just based on the strength of that Hex Core upgrade, the fact that Lee's 3-0 and level 6 to Trundle's level 5, I think that's a 2v2 win. Or potentially he could have sold out this Trundle. You saw, like, even just getting away, he's going to more than have this Trundle. You know, he got him to like 377 HP. So he potentially could have one-shot him here and then run south here through the jungle to get away from the Vel'Koz. But he decided to take that fight way too late. I mean, he wasn't trying to take it, he was trying to run. But he pathed halfway through this corridor, which was kind of unfortunate here. So Set and Darius still skirmishing. For some reason, it looks like Set, through their fighting, ran all the way through the jungle and baits Darius into getting killed by Lee Sin. That's pretty good. Knowing that he's behind, Set instead makes it look like he's at a disadvantage and he's running for his life from the Darius and he leads him into his teammates. So that's a good way to get to catch up if you're behind. And there's going to be some skirmishing here. Maybe Lee Sin gets a kill. Lee is 4-0, so he's pretty strong at this point. He's got kick up. Gets a double kick. That's pretty excellent. Totally worth it. Kill on Vel'Koz. Give Set some gold. So really the only loser out of here so far is Victor. Obviously this Set was losing pretty hard, but he's definitely coming back into his lane and he's going to scale okay. He pushes Victor's wave, so another, you know, I mean, Victor's just spawning, so unfortunate for... Actually, Victor TP top. Let's go back and see that. So Victor sees that his laner is dead and his lane is being pushed. So he decides to TP to a mostly full minion wave to get that farm. So they're doing a bit of a lane swap. And definitely he wants a CS and Set's getting that mid CS. So that's fine, considering Darius just died. I mean, he won't be back for just a second. So let's see. Reveal that Fog of War. Just more chunking and turret plates here. Really, Ashe, Alistar has no business fighting here. They're just sort of trading back and forth. They can't actually kill this lane. Okay, so Victor's staying top for a bit. Darius is kind of strong, so this is rough for Victor. He's got a CS. Maybe he can push the waves in. And I think at this point he decides to back. So he sort of gives up on that lane swap pretty quickly. Calls that Set over. He's going to recall and path back mid against Vel'Koz. So he wants a safer lane. Kind of an interesting teleport. He got, you know, 8 CS out of it. Like, I understand, like, him wanting to scale really hard. I don't know if that's necessarily the best use of it if he was going to leave that early. And Set gets caught here rotating. I think he went for Scuttle. Let's see. So Set wants to rotate from mid to top. So here he is leaving. And then he starts channeling a recall. So I don't see how much gold that Set has. I'm not really sure why Set is resetting here. Don't know how, if I can, to get a gold graph going. Okay, it looks like there's a dive happening bot lane too while this is all happening. Set just wants to recall, which is sort of interesting here. Trundle spots him out, and because of that, he gets collapsed 2v1. So weird place to recall. Also, he wanted to go top, and he doesn't really have much. I mean, maybe he can complete a phage, he was thinking, but it's going to essentially allow waves to crash on his turret and for Darius to take it. So he was full HP. He probably could have just walked top here, or at least recalled in a different place. It looks like Kalista Nautilus dove. Nautilus using stopwatch and Kalista using ulti, so good way to drop the aggro a couple times and dive under turret while they were still, let's see, Ashe level 5, I believe. Ashe just turned 6 and Alistar was 5, so. Bot lane creating more advantages, they're now 6-1, so they're humongous. Lee is 5-0. So it's really top and mid, or the solo laners are struggling a little bit here. Because of that kill on set, Trundle feels confident to go for this. Victor's back in lane here. A lot of giving up on lane prio and map control from mid and top. Just since the Victor did that TP and then backed, and then the set is killed here in the river after being spotted mid, they're essentially not controlling a lot of the vision, a lot of the space in top side. So it's easy for Trundle to come in and just take everything. Although it is hard because you get a 3v3 matchup between Lee, Victor, Set against Darius, Trundle, Vel'Koz, and I think that top 3 wins just because Darius is so strong. So top side is sort of lost. Darius can kind of go wherever he wants with the Trundle. Vel'Koz is mostly safe to scale. Maybe what we need from here is this bot side to transition its advantages into mid. So if we can get Nautilus and Kalista coming up and potentially impacting this lane, getting Victor ahead, because this lane is so far behind, like it's going to take them a while to scale up. Ashe is going to have no items. I mean, you could continue to kill this bot lane, but essentially these champions are going to get really out of hand unless you deal with them. You know, this is already getting really out of hand. You can see, yeah. So we'll see sort of what happens next here. We have sort of that whole top side is in trouble. Victor's chunked the Vel'Koz super low, so he's doing okay in his lane here. He's able to get some free CS. Bot's going to continue to pressure for plates. Once again, this lane really can't do anything. There really isn't any vision set up from the bot lane here. I mean, they're probably not too worried about Trundle coming in, but there could be more work to set up deep vision, especially to spot out Trundle, help the rest of the team. Alistar goes to stop the back. So there's going to be an all-in for that. Ashe ulti consumed, so they stop their back, but they burn Ali ulti and Ashe ulti. Oh, Nautilus is getting chunked here. And a re-engage. I don't really know. Go back and see there. So bot lane burned their cooldowns, which is, I would say, kind of a misplay from the Alistar Ashe. There's really no reason for them to all in and burn their ultis. So right here, Nautilus goes up to get a stack. So that's a little bit greedy considering Nautilus was like 200 health. Let's see. Yeah, so Nautilus is 203 health. So yes, they burn both ultis and they have no sums. But it probably is. So Kalista rends this minion. I see what happens. And Nautilus still wants to burn his stack before backing. So he ends up face tanking a volley here, getting him to 130 health, and executes the minion. And at that point, he's basically too deep. The Ashe can just run him down. So a bit of a greed from the Nautilus just to try and get that stack. And he tries to go for the re-engage. He grabs Alistar, but Kalista is just too low. No mana. Really can't do anything here. Bit unfortunate since that should have been easy. Oh, there's going to be a dive. And Trundle pops ulti, and with red buff burn, or red smite, I believe. That's a Kalista. So bot lane misplayed. Bot lane had burn both of these ultimates. They burned sums, and they had an easy way to back. And instead, because of just how long they stuck around, both the Kalista and the Nautilus, they gave up that double bounty. That's 800 gold to Trundle, and that resets this bot state. So what this bot lane should have done was try and impact the rest of the map and use the rest of their lead. Instead, the lead is now being given over in the form of tons of gold to, let's see who got 1 kill. Alistar got 1 kill, Trundle got 1 kill, and probably double bounty there. And That's going to even out this lane a little bit more. So any chance that our team had of sort of snowballing from bot lane and kind of collapsing and crushing the rest of the lanes, that's going to make it just that much harder. More skirmishing topside. Set seems perfectly content to chunk out this Darius. That was a great ulti. Got him away from the Darius ultimate, and it got the bleed stacks off. Kind of back towards this tower. So that was really good. He needed to do that. Rifttail dropped, gets a ton of plates, so more gold for bot lane. All sort of off that. I mean, Trundle could have come and Rifttailed it anyways if bot had backed off, but still, I think part of that was the result of bot lane dying. So really unfortunate, and actually brings the Lee. Lee hasn't been bot this entire game. But now all of a sudden he feels like there's some pressure bot. Rifttail got dropped. Bot lane is overextended. He's coming to impact. Like, he could be up here potentially fighting the Darius. He really should be trying to get that Victor ahead, although it looks like Victor solo killed that Vel'Koz. I didn't see that. Oh, great. Lee came in and killed the Vel'Koz with the Victor. That was perfect. So Lee's doing a great job. He just has some extra time here. He sees one camp, and he really decides, well, I might as well see if I can get some kills bot, see if I can get a pick off there. So he's pathing bot for that. So actually totally fine from the Lee. Great from the Victor. They played that through mid pretty well. Set uses his ulti earlier to escape. Darius TPing back. This could be a tough spot for Set. He could back and recall. He could try and sit under tower here. Lee's going for the play. Alistar backed, it looks like. Should have the kill here on Ashe. So, pretty good. Okay, so overall not bad. Definitely helped our win condition. Helping get mid ahead, get Vel'Koz further behind. Making up for some of the mistakes that bot did. Coming in, finishing that Ashe. That should be Lee sticking around to take this plate, the rest of this turret. We should just kill that turret and transition bot lane away. Instead, Lee's going to back here. Support's going to clear the ward. AD carry is going to try and take the turret. So we'll see if this works out. But we need to kill this turret and rotate this bot lane as fast as possible. We need to get out of this phase. We already created our advantage down here, so it's really time to just shut down, especially that Darius. We want to shut down that Darius. Shutting down Trundle would be nice too, but shutting down Darius would be amazing. And Trundle waiting in the wings. Bot lane has no idea. They're still pushing for the turret. They want to end. Alistar goes in. That means Trundle's here. Good hook. Pulls the Alistar away. Some skirmishing. Nautilus might die here. Nautilus is going to die here. Kalista should live, so unfortunate. Essentially, a little bit of miscommunication here. The vision, you know, it was set up in the river. We didn't see the Trundle come in. We knew Ashe was far off. Really, if we had Lee Sin here, we would have been able to take this turret. It should be dead by now. And it would have kept us safe from this 3v3. Knowing where this mid laner is and knowing what this top laner is, there's no way that Trundle, Alistar, and Ashe, who's lagging behind, if we're grouped as 3 here, beat Nautilus, Kalista, Lee, considering their ultimates up, all 3 of them. So I think keeping Lee Sin here would have been monumental to get Lee Sin to help push the turret and not actually put this bot lane in a situation. I mean, because of the warding and because of the pathing of the red team, bot lane is in a bad position here. But if we had Lee, it would have just been the easy, safe play. Yeah, it's true Lee doesn't get to farm as early or try and make some dive onto mid, but getting this and rotating this advantage through the rest of the map is our ultimate win condition here, and that's what needed to happen. Alistar misses his knockup. Kalista's cutting this away. Nautilus stays kind of far behind. Let's see what's going on here. Is it Demolish? So Demolish is starting to proc, and Alistar is engaging on this Kalista, and Nautilus wants to Demolish proc so bad that he's essentially let the Nautilus walk all the way up. Maybe Nautilus thinks Alistar's by himself, but if Alistar's doing this, unless he's totally brain dead, there's no reason that he's going to be going for this play without help. So this means that something is coming, but Nautilus wants to Demolish. See if he doesn't get the turret. So, I mean, yes, you got, you know, a chip damage on the turret, but probably not the best thing. Nautilus makes up for it by landing a max range hook, so that's not so bad at all. You know, Nautilus could be positioned right here instead if he had kind of walked back with the Alistar, but that hook makes up for it. Unfortunately, the exhaust halves the Kalista damage, keeps Alistar alive, which is bad. Try and disengage here, and Nautilus sort of dies as a result of that. So It's definitely possible if Nautilus was positioned higher up that Kalista and Nautilus both could have gotten out. But as it was, I guess just one loss isn't horrible, especially if it's the support, not the AD. And now Lee, recognizing that stuff's happening, after being here in the bush, recalling, doing chickens, queuing mid, and then walks back here. Kind of convoluted. I think if we just kept the Lee, then we can rotate this lane. That would have been better. So now Lee's back, looking for another play. And looks like he's going to sneak into the bot rush here. They should know something's afoot. Kalista's trying to bait it here for the Lee. Hawk shot mid. Victor's fine. He's doing okay, disengaging here. And they back off, so wasted time for the Lee. Okay. So it looks like the call here is to continue to get bot lane behind. I don't hate this, but I think that it's not ideal. Obviously Ashe and Alistar, if the wave is frozen here, they're gonna walk up to about here. So it's gonna be a kill. But the tower is so low. Probably the ideal play here is while Nautilus comes in, this wave gets pushed with the Lee. Lee shows, take the turret, rotate the lead. Instead, we're gonna wait for a bit, and it's gonna give a bit of a bigger bot lead. So it's a bit of wasted time, but I don't think it's horrible. It's just not necessarily ideal. We're essentially gonna keep trying to get this 0-4 Ashe behind, but she's already pretty far behind. It's probably like a 30 or 40 second play. I mean, there's nothing going on, so it's really not that bad for Lee. They have no idea down here. Drags up. That should be a priority as soon as we kill these two. So if we can get tower, we can get dragon, we can rotate. This is totally fine, actually. Alright, they've walked up at this point. Kick the Ashe. Ashe is dead. Kalista gets one, Lee gets one. That's fine. Take the tower, take the dragon. That should be fine. Set. Actually, solo kills Xerius under tower. Huge from Set. Victor is going to miss a massive wave. Should TP here. Right now. Don't miss the cannon. TP, okay. Misses the cannon, but could be worse, I guess. I think he was just taking a while to buy. Okay, so we rotated a drag. Victor can push, get priority here. Looks like he's going to go for the push. Trundle's going to punish. It's actually really good from the Trundle. Trundle figures... Alright, he sees Victor pushing. Trundle probably doesn't know we're on drag, but he sees Victor pushing. Goes for the play. Victor burns early flash. Good flash. Should be able to get away. Maybe not. He's going to get run down. Yeah, that Vel'Koz ulti, the distance with that, with the Trundle slow, even if he flashes a pillar, he still dies. So this is actually rough for Victor, because this combo is pretty strong into Victor. And Vel'Koz is immobile and is able to be killed by Lee, but Victor's not surviving. Every single gank that comes through from these two has killed Victor. So they have an effective gank combination. I think with just the damage outputted here and the CC and the slows outputted by Trundle, you don't need hard CC. Vel'Koz just needs slows to lock on all the damage. So really unfortunate for Victor. Good CS though. Still keeping up relevant. Gets the revenge kill, gets the dragon. Okay, so let's see how bot lane uses their lead. This is how we're playing through. Jungle has a massive lead, but that jungle lead is going to be... It's going to be more of like... I mean, he's building all damage. It's going to be more of an assassination potential. Maybe he can start shutting down the Darius. That would be really nice. So bot lane gets random weird comboed by Alistar. Another kind of disconnect here, though. So, okay, let's see what's going on. So here we are pushing up, looking for damage on turret. And Nautilus flash attacks right here. So weird combo because he messes up his flash WEQ because he actually W's Kalista away. But he W'd Kalista away with an engage. This is a fight. A fight is breaking out. But Nautilus wants this turret and the demolish stack. So Nautilus starts autoing the turret, but then realizes after autoing the turret that they can't really be in there. So Kalista should probably ulti Nautilus right here. And Kalista forgets it. Oh, remembers Nautilus ulti. Nautilus should get out. Or they go on Vel'Koz. This is fine. Okay, 1 kill. And 2 kills. Might die here. Nautilus tanks it. Ashe flashes in. They're both dead. close almost. Okay, so I think this is the theme of the game. The theme in the game is bot has an advantage, and bot has an advantage, so they want to continue to push that advantage. They're doing that. They took the bot tower, they took the dragon, they're trying to take mid tower. But what's happening is that bot is taking these objectives by themselves, and they're not on the same page as their team. They're Lee Sin, they're Victor, nowhere to be found. They're always on different parts of the map doing other things, and the bot lane is taking it upon themselves to shove towers. Nautilus is wanting those demolish procs really bad, dying for it, or causing some bad plays. So I really think that if the same play is happening, but you have a Victor behind you, or you have a Lee Sin on the turret, that turret is dead. Or they don't even engage, because Alistar wouldn't flash in there if there's a Lee also here, probably, because that would have been 3v2 instead of 2v2. So if bot can just take a little more safety and not try and 2v whatever the turret and bring their team with them, they should be totally fine. We should have been able to take both of these turrets and not have to result in any fights. So a little unfortunate from bot, and now a collapse is happening because Darius has left top lane. Hopefully they get out here. This would be kind of a disaster otherwise with Lee's massive bounty. He kicks the Trundle, kills the Ashe. That's pretty good. Does he have flash? He's not a flash. He'll probably die here. Hopefully he dies not to Darius. He dies to Darius. Okay, so it's 1,000 gold to Darius. Darius is already massively ahead. So now he's going to come back with 2 full items. So that's super unfortunate. Really, the whole reason that happened was there was some farming going on, and bot lane tried to take this turret by themselves. If they took it with their team, that would have been an easy team take. That could have transitioned that into a Rift Herald, which it could have transitioned to one more outer tower into total map control because their towers would be gone. So actually think this is a misplay of bot lane and the other laners, namely jungle and mid, trying to make up for it. Top has mostly just been an island, so really I think the only troubles with the top laner have just been the skirmishing aspect. So really just bot lane throwing their lead. Yeah, they look ahead in kills here, but definitely could have been much cleaner on these turret takes. That's sort of the biggest takeaway, is that the turret takes have been really messy. Set's going balls deep on this Darius. Victor's staying, but knows that it's not great. Actually gets a kill here, shut down on Darius. So for a really behind Set, I mean, that's not so bad. I'll take that. I don't know what Kalista just did there. Kalista's just running in. Okay. Survives. Burns out exhaust, but really risky play from Kalista. I think it almost caught them off guard, like how close Kalista ran to their team. So that was weird. Don't know about that one. Alright, so Kalista wants this turret. Needs the team. That's the theme, right? Nautilus wants this turret. We need the team. If we don't bring the lead, if we don't bring teammates, we're not going to be able to take this turret. It's going to be an issue. Victor wants farm, so Victor's leaving for farm. That's understandable. Really, we just need to wait for the team here. There's nothing to be done. Kalista should just soak while the team farms. There's really no way to take this turret. Objectives of our Rift Herald. We could group around Rift, but it could be kind of risky. They have more numbers on the board, and topside is really, with Darius up there, topside is their domain. So this sort of becomes a waiting game. We're waiting for Victor to scale, and we're waiting for... Okay, so because bot lane is pressing up, they get attacked. They have Ashe ulti, they have Alistar. Sort of what I talked about at the very beginning of the video. They have more hard engage. They have Alistar, they have Ashe, they have Trundle, they have, some slows and stuff from a knockout from Vel'Koz. But really, it's this Trundle, Ashe, Alistar combo that has the hard engage. So Kalista actually gets hard engage here with the Ashe ulti and the Alistar. So big misplay from Kalista. See what she does. She actually doesn't die for this, so lucky for the Kalista, but now we lose all this mid prio. So all that mid prio that Kalista and Nautilus were setting up, we lost, and I think Kalista burned flash, yeah. So really unfortunate. Didn't need to happen. That was another mistake. And Set's getting engaged on here. Lee's coming in. Just so many plays. Like, imagine if Kalista hadn't gotten chunked here, and Kalista was full HP. Kill, maybe run down one more kill, and then we could potentially even get that shutdown on the Darius. So essentially, like, this whole fight is really bad for us. Even if we win it here, we're not going to win it as hard as we could have, and we really needed Kalista at full HP. So just kind of unlucky. I mean, we're getting the fight that we wanted in mid that we originally positioned for, but bot lane was up too high in the lane without their team. So I guess the theme here is bot is doing everything without their team, and if they do things with their team, they'll use their lead a lot better. So we kill Ashe, but Vel'Koz gets a kill here potentially. 2 dead. So kind of a disaster. We lose Set. We lose that Lee Sin. That's another 300 bounty plus 300, so 600 to Alistar, which is fine. But now they have Prio. So now the turret that we wanted to take and that lead that we have, now we're dead and we're waiting, you know, for our teammates to come back up so we can make a play. So we sort of lost our momentum. So that bot side stop momentum that was going on, just simply based on the impatience of trying to take that mid tower twice, that sort of lost that lead. Now we know that top side's already lost because Darius is a monster. So now sort of our win condition of playing through bot is over, and them playing through top is suddenly becoming a reality. Ashe is still nothing at this point, but their top side is so strong. So, and they're just going to take 2 towers. So all we wanted out of that last, like, I want to say it was like 4 minutes, was just to take this outer tower. And because of sort of the misplays, they're actually going to take tier 2 mid. So a huge disaster for us. What should have been 1 tower for us turned into 2 mid towers for them. Now they have map control, and with map control, Callisto gets grabbed here, potentially dead. So we even died on the turret defense. Just, people were dead. They're coming in because they're dead. Victor is here doing damage. Nautilus is here, but really what's happening here is Callista and the rest of the team here are not wanting to lose this turret and willing to fight, and ultimately it looks like die for it. We're going to lose Victor too. Not losing Victor. A good kick from Lee. Just really unfortunate. I mean, Lee is always here for these cleanups, and here's one reason why Lee is getting so ahead, but it's not really meaning much. Their team is coming on and grouping on bot lane, and bot lane is dying, or bot lane is losing, or burning flash or something, getting them low, and then Lee is coming in for the cleanup, but the objectives have already been lost. So yeah, Lee is going to get really fed here and get even more kills, but these 2 turrets are gone, and their mid's still standing. So really, just as far as like the objective play goes, kind of sloppy. And just going back to that theme, bot needs to play with their team and not by themselves, and that's how they're going to best use their advantage. Good triple kill from the Lee. Good cleanup. With 4 alive, this should be finally this tower. It shouldn't have taken this monumental effort, but it's going to happen. And we got drag coming up, so I guess that'll be sort of the next thing. They're going to push tier 2. They might be able to get it because 4 dead. So Callista died here, but because of the Lee's plays and sort of their overextension in general, Darius really stayed for that tower. We get tier 2. It should have been free tier 1 and no towers lost, but instead it is 2 towers lost to 2 towers lost. So we traded it back, but I would say a lot sloppier than it could have been. But I'm glad we got 2 towers here. I think that's pretty good. So path to drag, clear camps, sweet vision. That should be the next goal here. Drag's about up. They're all spawning. This might be a full 5v5. And Victor's still rather weak. Set's pretty squishy. This is tough. With that Darius Trundle, that's going to be an issue. Let's see if this actually works out. Set just goes for it. So really Set's idea here is just chunk out that Darius and just start fighting. Where is Lee in this situation? This is tough. I know Vel'Koz isn't there, so this might be an okay fight, but this is a tough place to fight. Especially in these corridors with Trundle and Alistar, they can sort of section the team off. So looks like... So we have Hook and then Nautilus ulti on Ashe. So this is okay. Although we do want to consider their Ashe is 1 item, or 1 in 7. Their strongest team members are by far this Trundle and this Darius. So Set is trying to 2v1 on this side. He's going to ultimately die to that. We might get the Alistar here. So Lee assassinates back here. This is pretty good. He's going to be able to get Vel'Koz and everything here. But essentially all the like damage and everything was the initiation. The Nautilus initiation was blown on Ashe. And a lot of the damage was blown on Alistar. So that doesn't really do much to these 2. And these are really the 2 strongest parts of their team. I think maybe if we had more of a cohesive engage with more crowd control on these 2, might have ended a little bit better. It's a weird corridor because they were able to kite this way. We wanted to draw them in more deeper into the fight, and that would have been probably better. So we'll see how this plays out. Nautilus goes back in for a re-engage. Darius flashes in. Callista goes for the execute on the... Just essentially everyone's running from these top lane carries. Darius is going to get the kill here. Yeah. So really unfortunate. You know, they essentially played through their really strong top jungle, and their strong top jungle didn't get touched. I think if we burned more engage on this champion, if we burned Victor ult, if we burned Nautilus ulti, if we burned more Lee Sin damage on this champion, because at this point, Vel'Koz and Ashe aren't really a problem. Darius and Trundle are the problem right now. That might change later in the game, but yeah. Lee can solo dragon right now. Lee's, I don't know, Lee wants to take mid tower by himself. I don't know about this one. So Lee should be finishing drag right now, clearing camps. People are coming up. Let's skip ahead. I think we do get the dragon. Set actually TPs for it, so not a TP that was necessary if Lee had just soloed it to begin with, but good secure. And for the most part, it's going to be a lot of positioning, I think, right now. So I think blue team at this point understands that there is no lead, and it took them a while to understand that. But I don't know. I probably can't bring a gold graph up right now, but yeah, there's a 4K gold lead. But essentially, the way these fights are playing out, this Darius Trundle is just smashing through the team. They need to be a huge focus of crowd control, and once they're down, the rest of their team will crumble like paper. That Vel'Koz and that Ashe will crumble like paper, and they're not going to do so much damage at this point, unless Vel'Koz gets like a really great corridor ulti, that it's going to be any huge problem. So blue team really needs to pick the right fight, and that's sort of the onus is on blue team right now to pick the right fight. Some skirmishing, mostly sweeping out vision. A lot of vision around Baron. Baron's the objective that's up. This is totally fine. More farm for Victor. Victor's kind of getting online. Doesn't even have a level 2 boots yet, which is unfortunate. He's going to need that for sure. The extra spell pen, but also the move speed. We're going to barrel down mid here. Don't really like this play from these guys. We could get collapsed on with Ashe Arrow, but they're backing off, so they're sort of equally looking for the right fight, it seems, and they're not willing to just hard engage. That's good, because that could have been unlucky if they decided to sort of flash in and fight here in the river. I think that would have been sort of disastrous. Maybe they want to not fight without Darius, and that's probably what they're thinking. So not a lot going on right here. I think both teams are sort of jockeying for position and getting vision, but let's see what the next major occurrence is. I think blue's just looking for picks. Red's looking for a fight now. They've got 5. Victor's in the top lane. They're sort of waiting for that engage. Hopefully it doesn't happen. Okay, so Victor's got his solo push going on here. Let me get the vision going right here. Let's sort of see what everyone else sees. Okay, so Darius is spotted right here. Darius is seen pathing into his jungle. So as far as we know, he's going to be coming kind of along here, but he gets spotted again on a ward. So the good wards that we set up here, this should be Victor running. Like, it's possible that Darius blast comes over, runs all the way around, and fights the Victor. Victor makes a choice here to kind of go inside. And the team here sort of sees this opportunity to collapse on the Darius, it looks like. So we spot Darius here. Darius is here spotted on the outside, and Victor's going inside, and their team is inside. So this is a bit of a messy fight because one of our carries is already sort of caught out here. I don't really know if there's any way to save the Victor. I think at this point, Victor has flash. I think he tries to make some sort of flash over the red wall here, or he's dead. So he actually walks all the way into their team. So that's super unfortunate. Oh, sorry. Let's do it again. Darius spotted out. Victor decides not to run back to base. He actually runs inside. These are all spotted out. So Victor sees them rotating. At this point, Victor's dead. Like, maybe he could flash this wall and try and blast cone and run, but this is over. This fight is lost. Victor actually flashes over here, and the team sort of attempting to save him gets hit by just an unbelievable Alistar knockup. Just the ideal knockup. That's Kalista jumping forward. That's really unfortunate. Not good from Kalista. Really, Lee Sin's the only one who's in any decent position here. Bouncy castle into Vel'Koz ulti. Horrible. Total disaster. Lee's going for the assassinations, so that's good. He gets them off. You see how close this fight is getting? I mean, this fight is definitely doable front to back in an ideal situation. But with Victor dying right off the bat, and everyone getting 4-man ulted, Yeah, Alistar's even killed here. Like, this is definitely a winnable fight front to back, I think. So at this point, most of the lead is pretty much thrown. Hopefully Nautilus lives here. So that was definitely a good example of when to leave a player. You know, you can't play perfect every time. And if you take a bad path and you get caught out, you sort of leave it at that. It's probably better than to have your entire team throw it away. They honestly, I mean, maybe they're afraid of Lee, but they could Baron right here, but they chose not to. Essentially, they're just going to take that 3-kill win. But easily an avoidable casualty. We could have just had Victor dead, I think. Okay, Victor's got boots, so he's got some damage going on. Probably more itemization, really, than this Vel'Koz. About equal. Close to 3 item, Ashe almost 2 item. Yeah, this Darius is really just such a huge problem. Trundle's actually doing a amount of damage for the tankiness that he has. So that's tough. Positioning, jockeying, waiting for Dragon. Neither team is brave enough to go to Baron. We're not going to see a Baron fight. It's a half on Alistar. Okay, so this is sort of round 2 of that first fight we saw. That first fight we saw, Set ulted the Darius into the Trundle in this corner, while Lee Sin executed on the backline, but these two didn't receive any of that crowd control or AoE from Victor. So let's see if we can get crowd control and AoE and CC on the front line here. That's kind of the ideal. So we've got Trundle knocked up. Victor is running to minions. Okay, so the fight is in full swing, and Victor's actually farming right now. So, bad awareness from the Victor. He really needs to be dropping his ulti right now. He's dropping his ulti right now, and Nautilus's ulti is going down, and Set's damage is coming down, and Kalissa's autoing. This is a chance to kill all 3 of these members. So, bad communication, I think, from this team. I think Victor just doesn't realize it until right now that there's actually a fight going on. And by this point, because no one's in position, we've kind of got that breaking down going. So pull from Darius actually pulls Nautilus and Set. Set's going to rumble here. Now here are the people we need to kill. They've started to kite away. So they're starting to kite away here. And Alistar's flashing in for another knockup. Great. Honestly, Alistar is doing a great job getting on people. And he really misplayed the early game, but he's really playing this late game fights really well. He's getting on carries. Like, he's got isolated Kalista and Victor, and he's going to knock them both up with range enough for these champions to all come into play. Lee Sin is waiting in the wings. He knows he's an assassination style champion. Set's doing his crowd control here. This is rough. I think with the initial Nautilus ulti, or Nautilus hasn't even used ulti yet. Yeah, so Nautilus didn't even use ulti. There was just no opportunity to get that combo on. I think that's the Nautilus ulti right now onto the Ashe. So kind of in active desperation, Nautilus popped the ulti on the Ashe. But I think that diving Vel'Koz and Ashe in these fights isn't necessarily the best play. The Lee can do that by himself. I think the rest of the team needs to really burn down these 2 carries here. I mean, they're not carries, but they're like these bruisers, and they're creating pretty much all the trouble. And so we got the choke point we wanted. We were just 5,000 gold too late, and 1 team fight too late as well. I mean, we had that fight that was over here, and this was the ultimate fight that we needed. Maybe it would have even happened if we had all the damage and the Victor and the Nautilus ulti all in frontline all at once. I think people need to be willing to just burn all of their stuff on 2 or 3 players, because once they're dead, we have 5 up, they have 3 up, we take Dragon, we win the game. We don't necessarily need to get this team fight where Nautilus and all the other CC lens on the carries and just like kill the carries and you win, kill the carries and you win, because the reality is this is the carry right now. Like, if Lee Sin can do his best to kill 2, I mean, I think that's probably worth it for Lee, but with Lee's share of the gold, I mean, we need to be killing these carries. Kalista just can't kill this Darius, and Victor's gonna die here as well. And that's the Lost Dragon. Well, he's going to try and trade here. That's fine. think Lee gets out here, it looks like. No. Maybe? No. So they've got Lee. They win team fights front to back. It's obvious we're not able to burn through their Darius Trundle. And that's sort of the problem that I see here, is that we're not expending Victor damage and Nautilus ultis on Darius Trundle. And Alistar is also disrupting Kalista and Victor really hard when these fights are happening. Maybe a set ulti onto an Alistar would be the best possible thing to get him away, and then everyone else is just hitting on Victor Trundle. So they're going to get a free Baron here. There's pretty much no way to contest this. So Victor's going to try and do something, but it's probably just futile, to be honest. They can engage on him with Ashe ulti or whatever they want. Desperation play from blue team. They can't even win a 5v5, but they're going to try and take this. Set flashes in with ulti. He gets a good haymaker on, although he has pretty... I think his shield wasn't that high, so he could have done more damage with that. Victor AoE. So, like, we're getting AoE here. This is like an AoE fight. Nautilus ulti should be used soon. Nautilus used ulti. I'm not sure on who. Yeah, so as you see, when we have them all in one, like, we don't win this fight, but we do really well considering it's 4v5. Like, these two are within kill range. If Lee sends up, they're dead. Like, we could definitely have won that fight if we had 5 members. And I think, like, the takeaway that we want is that when we funnel them into a corridor, which it happens to be Baron Pitten this time, and we drop Victor AoE, and we Nautilus ulti, and the Nautilus ulti cascaded over several people, we've got Set doing massive damage to everybody. Kalista's got some AoE with her Renon's Hurricane. Like, we're able to, like, AoE the front line down and burn all of our cooldowns and our ultimates and AoE the front line down. And this was a good example of, like, how we could have won a fight. Now, we're only 2k gold ahead, and at this point against this team, it's basically we're behind. But they just have a little more scaling than we do. But if we had this sort of corridor fight with AoE on the front line and CC on the front line, then I think we could have won those earlier fights. So this is the takeaway. This was a good fight, and this is what needed to happen 10 minutes ago. Victor's going to die here. Lee might come in for a cleanup. Good damage from Victor. Maybe he helps Lee get even closer to that cleanup. Misses the Q. Really unfortunate. He might get alley here, but none of the carries. Good Q. Good ward hop. He's dead. Consolation prize. So Lee is really trying to get all the objectives here. All the objectives that we're unable to get. He's getting the towers, that sort of thing. It's really just, I wouldn't say quite poor team fighting on the part of blue team. Really just poor team fighting and bad execution in that early to mid game on objective taking. Got them behind. The laning was fine. You know, Set definitely had trouble in lane. Victor was fine in lane. The ganks were a problem. Bot lane was smashing in lane. Mostly in the misplays of Ashe Alistar. But I think it's a team fighting and it's that objective taking in that early game. Okay, now they're just going to run at us. They don't even need to find the right fight at this point. They've got Baron. They're way stronger. They're just going to run us down. Victor's caught out. He's good. They don't have flash. Ashe ulti or his flash there could have been bad. Let's watch the Darius here. Kaylee tried to flank, kick the Trundle away just to keep himself alive. See what they do with the Baron buff. And Victor's starting to do some damage. Sort of a siege going on, but this team isn't great at sieging. They really just want to sort of meatball it down. Set's getting poked really low. He should probably back here. Instead, he actually steps up to W. And Kalista just gets pretty much one-shot by that Vel'Koz. Although Vel'Koz does die here. Not ideal, but it's not the worst. Looks like Lee's trying to get the flank assassinations. Alistar stopping that. That's a great play from the Alistar.
keeping Ash safe. Same thing though. Really, we just wanted to burn AoE on the front line here. I think Set kind of got himself poked too low. He probably, because he has no wave clear, he doesn't really need to be sitting under the tower. He can be sort of sitting on the wings, like right over here, waiting for some sort of flank engage, or maybe grouping with this Lee Sin on their back line. I think under tower here, he just gets poked down. Victor gets grabbed. He's got the ulti on the front line. Trundle's doing some work here. This might be a kill. Not quite. They're just a little too tanky. It's too little too late. I think with Callista alive, like, their front line was dead there. Same thing, team fighting. You know, AoE the front line down. We just needed to focus Darius Trundle. And they got Trundle, but I think that's the game. They end up going for another dragon. Lee Sin gets a steal. At this point, we need some sort of miracle fight from blue team. Some sort of perfect fight. They're actually still ahead in gold, but the scaling has really gone so wonky. Actually, so much of this gold is on this Lee Sin. That's kind of rough. Victor's still 2.5 item. 35 minutes in. Valkaz is 3 full items. One of them's a death cap. So I don't even know if that original plan of blowing down the front line is going to work anymore. Vel'Koz is actually going to... Look at that. Vel'Koz is going to hurt so much. They just positioned for Baron for a little while. TP coming in. So Set flash engages onto 4. He's not going to live very long. What did I want to see here? I mean, I really think that, like, our condition here is AoE that front line. And what I think Set is doing here is disrupting backline. But it doesn't help that original condition. That we really just need to kill Darius Trundle, and then from there we can win the fight. Lee Sin should be the one to do the backline stuff here. He has the damage to kill one or both of them. And I think Set going on here is just Set dying, buying 3 seconds. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it bought 4.5 seconds. Darius TP'd in. So we're on the front line here. At this point, we need the Set, right? It would be awesome if we had Set that just ulted Alistar back. We can kill these two. Lee Sin can get back there. What ends up happening is, essentially, they're getting the fight. These are tanking up a bunch. I mean, they're not so much of a problem now. I mean, we almost killed Trundle. They don't do as much damage. But, yeah. I don't know. Just a weird fight. Having a Set flash in there, kind of strange. Maybe they weren't expecting the teleport from the Darius. Kallista's doing damage here. Oh, man, so much damage from the Vel'Koz. Kallista's just trying to step up there. And, I mean, she was doing a lot of damage, so I think that was baiting her in, thinking that she could kill more. But in reality, like, that range of the Vel'Koz is too much. And I think the fight was lost much earlier. Kind of unsalvageable. Lee might die here. Yeah, that's pretty much the end of the game. They just sort of push it down. Don't know what support and top are doing here. I think they're trying to save the remains of the inhibitor. I don't know. I think they just didn't think that they were going to get engaged on so hard. But I think at this point, like, this is all just pointless. The game was lost, 20 minutes ago. So overall, I mean, interesting one to pick apart. We got to see sort of bot lane grabbing a lead and sort of the struggle to transition it. We got to see mid in a very just even neutral state, but then losing that essentially losing that Trundle Vel'Koz ganks. A little bit of weird positioning here definitely didn't help that. Lee Sin tons of cleanup kills, taking the objectives here, but backing at strange times and leaving. I think if we can just group together a little bit more and bring more team members. If you're behind and you group with a 7-0 bot lane, you're going to be able to get stuff done. And I think the bot lane needs to not go and do things on their own there. And team fighting from the Set, Set's a great champion, doing a lot of good stuff here. Just maybe a little bit too far behind. He didn't have the same sort of threat that Darius had. He died 12 times there, so he was really just getting annihilated. He got Set at almost 3 items there. So I think overall, if we can transition that lead in the early game, take more objectives, get more map control, about overextending. You know, we were in a winnable situation, and fighting out those team fights, there were at least 3 team fights that were all definitely winnable from a gold and damage perspective, but if they were just fought in the proper choke points and the AoE was dropped properly on the right champions, I think that was a win. So, sorry if my tone is a bit negative, but overall I think that was a good game to learn from, and a lot of important stuff there. So I think I'm going to end the VOD with that. Hopefully we can get more of these. I'm going to try and do one every week. So thanks, team.